country has the kind of opportunity they deserve.
One of the president's African-American supporters gave a more pointed explanation to the New York Times. It was published yesterday, and let me read it to you and our viewers. It said, one prominent African-American supporter of Mr. Bush, who is close to Karl Rove, said the president did not go into the heart of New Orleans and meet with black victims on his first trip there last Friday because he knew that White House officials were, quote, scared to death of the reaction. If I'm Karl, do I want the visual of black people hollering at the president as if we're living in Rwanda, said the supporter. What do you make of that?
Well, I think that points to one of the big problems that I've seen in this administration, and that is they have excellent responses when it comes to PR, more detachment and less effectiveness when it comes to governing. I think that's been true in Iraq. It's been true across the board. And you know, a good example, we had a cabinet meeting this week. The senators had 8 cabinet members in, Donald Rumsfeld, Michael Chertoff. What was striking was, even as people were reading the statistics of all the evacuations that had taken place, were telling us all the wonderful things that had been done, there was no sense of reflection, no sense that, you know, things didn't go the way they were supposed to, and that we needed to take away some lessons learned. There was a terrific spin operation, but not the kind of soul-searching that I think you'd want to see from any administration, Democrat or Republican.
Have you spoken to the president since Katrina hit?
I have not.
What would you tell him if he did call you about how he might try to heal this anger, this anguish that you see in the black community?
Well, I think the first step would be for him to reach out and acknowledge that
perhaps call you.
The performance. It doesn't need to be me. I would like to see him reach out to a broader circle of leadership in the African-American community and indicate that what he saw woke him up, that it made him realize not only that issues of government competence in the response have to be dealt with, but more broadly that he is awakened to the fact that in fact, our country is not doing the sort of job it should be in providing young people with opportunity, making sure that people have jobs. We've got statistics that came out this week during the hurricane showing that poverty has gone up again, 4th time in a row. We now have higher poverty than we did at any time in a very long time. We've got flat income for working people all across the country. And what you want is a sense on the part of the president that, in fact, these realities matter to him. You know, there's a lot of talk about the federal deficit. One of the things I'm concerned about is an empathy deficit, a sense that, you know, these children are our children. Those old people who are in front of the convention center gasping for life, that those are our grandparents, and we've got a stake in them. And if the president can project that sense that he cares about them deeply, and the government has to express that concern in effective, efficient ways, then I think we might be able to make some progress.
You know, we're talking on the eve of the John Roberts hearings for Chief Justice starting tomorrow in the Senate. And on Friday, your party chairman, Howard Dean, said in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, it was especially important for the Senate to reject John Roberts. Here's what he said.
His entire legal career appears to be about making sure those folks don't have the same rights everybody else does. That's probably not the right thing to do 2 weeks after a disaster where certain members of society clearly did not have the same protections that everybody else did because of their circumstances. Americans are fair people and they want a sense of justice. I know Judge Roberts loves the law. I'm not sure he loves the American people.
Do you think it's appropriate to link Katrina and the John Roberts nomination in that way?
Well, you know, I think we're going to have these confirmation hearings. There's no doubt that Judge Roberts is a powerful intellect. His resume indicates the qualifications required to be a Supreme Court justice. I think what we do need to ask ourselves is whether he has the heart, the breadth of perspective, and the recognition that historically the role of the court has been to look out not just for the powerful but also the powerless. I'm keeping an open mind. That's the purpose of these hearings. But I think that Katrina does indicate that we've got a lot of problems in our midst, both in terms of poverty, in terms of the differences in life opportunities for blacks, whites, Hispanics, and that has to inform how we think about every branch of government and their functions. And I think that the Supreme Court is no different. One last point I want to make, though, George, is the overwhelming response that you saw from people towards this tragedy, the huge influx of volunteers and donations, I think underscores the degree to which the American people know we can do better. They were ashamed by what they saw last week. And part of what our job is, Democrats and Republicans, because Democrats are not blameless, we oftentimes have ignored the problems of poverty in our midst. What this gives us an opportunity to do, I think, is align America's deeper aspirations for our country with the way our government functions. And that's a conversation that has been overdue.
Do you think that Howard Dean, though, I appreciate that sentiment, do you think Howard Dean, though, went too far when he said he's not sure John Roberts loves America, loves Americans?
Well, I think that there is an underlying concern that a judicial philosophy that ignores the possibilities of racial discrimination or gender discrimination, a political philosophy that typically errs on the side of the powerful rather than the powerless, that's a judicial philosophy that can make worse, can exacerbate some of the problems that we have in this country. But you know, the fact of the matter is that the reason we have confirmation hearings is to allow those of us in the Senate to learn more about Judge Roberts, and hopefully he'll express the kinds of views that make all of us comfortable that he'll be a compassionate and wise justice. Okay, Senator Obama, thanks very much. Thank you. Coming up, the roundtable.